I suspect we're at or very near the bottom of the crypto market. And I'll lay out the case as to why. Let's also get into some wrap up of the week news and discussion on important events that happened this week. Some of what we'll cover is the future of Twitter, Coinbase versus the Apple Store and monopoly behavior. The U.S. Secret Service is watching your crypto transactions. Did you know that? Crypto profit gains in 2021 totaled $163 billion, according to Chain Analysis. And your Adventure Park Season Pass will soon be an NFT, as well as Telegram is now crypto enabled. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. And if you like money and you like crypto and you're looking for a real investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video and subscribing with the all notifications bell enabled. Do note that I'm not a financial advisor. I am a crypto investor myself, and I'm sharing with you how I think about the crypto market and specific crypto projects I like and why. I do own or plan to own much or sometimes most of what I talk about on this channel because I don't talk about crypto projects I don't believe in. Special shout out to our Patreon members. We have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to, and we just did our Friday pre-live stream where we have a lot of interaction there and we talk about whatever things are on your mind, whatever questions you have. There is a link below to our Patreon if it's of interest to you. Sponsorship disclaimer at the beginning. There is often says sometimes that this is sponsored content. That is because of our strategic relationship with Wanchain, who has been very good to us and gives us 500 won every month to give away to the audience. And we love that project. I've been an investor in it for about 3 years now. Now make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Let's welcome our producer D Money.
Yo, Jay. Happy Friday, man.
Yes, it is Friday and crypto prices are down once again.
Yeah, but it's Friday still, right? I mean, it's at this point, it feels like it's just been trading sideways for so long. I was watching, the video with Paul yesterday, and he's like, it's just kind of range bound. This is just what it's doing, and it's kind of. What are all the stages of grief, right? It's like denial and like acceptance, right? Like, I feel like I'm kind of at the acceptance point of it. I'm like, okay, like this is what it's doing for a while. And you know what? It's Friday and I get to do some stuff with my kids tomorrow. So yeah, things are good.
Yeah, this market, when it's the best time to be buying and when most people leave is when it's quite boring. And it's fair to say it is boring as hell. And it has been for a few months now. And a lot of people have left and stopped watching, even though that's right now is when the juiciest gains happen from this price to when it takes off. And we're going to look at some signs that the bottom is in. So let me share. I want to share my screen and show you. I've shared with this chart a lot, right? So this is the peak of 2017. You can see it was one general climb like this. Now, by general climb, it actually had this brief zone that doesn't look too different from what we're looking at. And we're going to zoom in on that. So see this period here, it actually had a big climb and then it put in a low. And I'm sure that I wasn't around in July of 2017, but I'm sure a lot of people freaked out. And then by September, it had another big climb and then a savage pullback. And some people thought, oh my gosh, Bitcoin is going to go back to 200. And yet it didn't. And it wicked right back up and it climbed all the way to 20,000. Well, what's funny is the past repeats itself and the narratives are pretty much the same today. But if you look at this little period, this once again is not too different from what we've been experiencing. Now, this was back in 2020. And in March, we had this savage pullback. And this came out because of the pandemic concerns and the stock markets crashed and crypto crashed right along with it. Where first Bitcoin was trading for about 10,500, came down to the 9,000 and 9,300 range, and then dropped all the way down under $4,000. But while many people sold right here and panic sold out, look what then happened. And it climbed up. Then it kind of traded sideways, went up some more, came right back down, and then traded sideways. And then it was off to some massive gains. Hit here, came right back down, then went all the way up to 62,000. Now we've been in this little interesting market here. And some people say, oh my gosh, it's hit its top and we're going into the crypto winter. And I just think they're dead wrong. Because what we do notice here is one of the concerns would be if this pattern had actually created a double top, meaning this high was higher than this one, and that would have been a double top. But that is not what played out. What did play out is that from here to here, we had a higher high. Notice what also happened. We had a higher low. And so this is very much a sign that the bull run is still in a continuation phase. We're just trading sideways. And like I discussed, the rubber band is pulling back. And the longer that rubber band pulls back, the farther it goes when it does take off. So this builds a lot of momentum for when we do break out. We're going to break out really savagely. Now, a closer look at this, really, as we zoom in, it's not too different from what we see here. So let me just get rid of these two drawings. And I know you see these huge climbs here, but if we rewind time from when this low was and we zoom in a little bit, what did we see as it was climbing here? Now, you've already seen what the future looks like, but the market had come off these lows and it reached a high here, then came back down. In fact, if we do this, it'll show you that at the time that seemed like a big climb. So all the way down here from under 4,000, climbed all the way up to 10,000, which was big. And then it was coming back down to the 8,900 range. And I remember many people at the time saying, oh my gosh, it's just going to keep going down. It's going to come back down to 6,000. You watch. And it did not. End up being a bottom there or a low. And then it came up to a higher high right here. And then a higher low. Isn't this similar to the pattern that we're going through right now? So I think actually the bottom was in, and the bottom is in right here, that this was the lower low, and that this is a higher low. And that as we break, when we break out of this pattern, I think it's green skies ahead. Yeah, really excited about that. So are you still bullish, or have the bears won you over?
Hey, Jay, what is that low right there on that chart? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, like right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it hit the very bottom of this was 33,000.
Okay.
And so we're trading right now at 38.5, but even it's been as low as 37.8. So this low here was as low as almost 28,000. So it was about
28.5.
28.7. Now, another bullish thing that I'm looking at is that the fear and greed index, the fear is really high. And that's almost, if you go back in time and you buy when the fear is really high and then you sell when the greed is really high, it works out decently, right? If you put in extra analysis from that, you can make better decisions, because sometimes the fear is really high and then the price goes down even further. But as a general principle, if you buy when the fear is super high, or on the fear and greed index, it drops super low, and it dropped really down to the 10% range here, which means fear is high, greed is really low. Right now, we've been bouncing around the index, hitting this low of about 20 right here. And we're bouncing close to that 20 mark as we've been trading sideways. And I think we have some good blue skies, or I call them green skies, ahead of us, because there's been so much bearishness that when most of the people are saying, oh my gosh, we're going down from here, they're usually wrong. It does the opposite of what so many people are expecting. So that's been bullish. However, in fairness to you, there is a bearish sign. And the bearish sign is that, what's his name from CNBC? The guy, I like to watch him, and I'm forgetting his name. I watch him sometimes, but he just said that ETH is super bullish and that is low and it's going to go up from here. And what's funny is if you watch CNBC and you do the opposite of what they say, they're almost always right. Is it Jim? I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, CNBC, when they talk about crypto, I mean, they were teaching people how to buy Ripple, when Ripple hit like 330 in the 2017-2018 bull
Is
run.
it Jim Cramer, Jay?
Jim Cramer, that's the name.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So watch Jim Cramer. Fantastic information for you to like. He literally was talking about buying Facebook at the top. Like, he is almost always wrong. And so he's generally actually following what general sentiment is, which general sentiment is almost always wrong. So he was calling ETH as like, oh, it's at bottoms and it's all upsides from here, which had me a little bit concerned. I was like, maybe my thesis is wrong because Jim Cramer says we're at a bottom and that it's green skies from here. So I had to be fair to you and give you all the information I have. The truth is, in the market, we're dealing on probabilities that we're at a bottom, because events could happen that would bring the market even further down from here, even if fundamentally a lot of things are setting up to be bullish from here. Another look at a major altcoin. See, ETH, if you look at it, look how it's following this trend line. So we're not at the very bottom, and it could come down and still be in this trend line all the way down to about 2,500. And it would still be bullish because it's been respecting this trend line upward really, really well. So, I mean, I'm bullish on ETH, although there's still plenty of room for it to come down and still respect the pattern. Cardano's come back down to these levels. And if we put in a higher low here, that's very bullish on Cardano. One of the projects that I follow a lot and I really like is a Comey's token, OMI. And it has this beautiful W pattern going on here. What's critical about a W pattern is that this low does not go below there. And if it stays higher, so that we have a higher low, it's a very, very bullish sign that it's about to turn and head upwards. And what usually happens is it comes back to its previous high, usually comes back down here, and then it goes off to the races. Now, one of the things that we've been covering for months and months now is Freeway Token. And Freeway Token is one of the ones that is not down. And generally, it's been trading sideways a lot. But now that their website is very functional, you can earn some amazing passive rewards on its token. You can see, I've done a lot of videos on Freeway Token, how you can make 43% return on your stable coins or in Bitcoin, and share with you the specifics on that. There is a link below to the Freeway Token site if you want to use our referral link. If you do decide to put some money on them and use our referral link, you do get a little bit higher gains for using that referral link rather than going to the website directly, but you don't have to use our link. Their token's up and it's broken through this resistance, and it came back, retested the resistance, and it looks like it's respecting it to the upside, which means it might be off to the races. Now, it's not hugely up from its bottoms. Its lows have been all the way about 0.5 cents, and it is about 4x from there. It recently hit as low as 0.7 cents. So it's about 2.5x from its lows of back in early March. And but it's been going contrary to the market. And I think the reason it's been going contrary to the market is because their website is functioning very well. People are able to get some good passive returns on it. You do have to hold a certain percentage of your portfolio in Freeway Token to make the highest gains. And that's why I think the token is up, is people are getting a feel for the gains. They're getting a feel for the platform, what's going on with them, and they're buying a lot more of their tokens. And so the price on Freeway Token is doing well, contrary to the market being down. Another one we recently covered is SHOPX. And one of the things we're trying to do is bring on some of the founder teams on some of the altcoins that I'm very interested in, that the prices are really, really low, because I don't know about you, but I like to buy low and sell high. And this one did break above the resistance, but it came right back down and trading below it, although it's not too far off from this bottom line. And over time, you see the pressure getting squeezed. What happens is it almost always eventually breaks to the upside and it shoots way, way up. And so for me, this is yet another bullish indicator. Look at this. Low. So this is a descending pattern, right? Lower low here, lower low here, but now we see a higher low. And my guess is we'll see another higher low, and then we're ready probably to break this trend line to the upside. And there's a lot of altcoins that they're if you look at their price analysis, tune into our Thursday shows with Paul, who's an expert in price analysis, and you'll see his genuine excitement. He doesn't follow, like, at a deeper level, the cryptocurrency projects like I do so that I can understand the fundamentals. He strictly looks at price. But as you understand price really well, you can see actually the fundamental things that are going on. You can see that in the price action. And so he doesn't just trade crypto, he trades a lot of markets. And a lot of what he's seeing in the crypto space is very bullish for reversal patterns. All right, let's get into some news as well. I'm curious to hear everyone's take. Let me check over the comment section, see what's going on. A lot of our audience knows each other, so you see a lot of that. Jim Cramer, yep, Mark Farag said, totally. BitBoy of the traditional world. You know, I grew some additional respect for BitBoy. He did a fantastic episode on like money, and I think is the World Economic Forum, as well as some other things. And that video was fantastic. Joking, you know, I've teased BitBoy's channel because like his background is not investing. It really isn't. He covers a lot of news stuff, but when he says something's a good buy, he's almost always wrong on that because he's not an investor. He is a fun personality to watch, and he is fantastic at talking. And he's grown an amazingly respectable channel. In fact, he outgrew a lot of crypto channels that were a lot bigger than his, and he came from way behind. I remember 2 years ago, he's only at like 30,000 subscribers, and now he's like at 1.4 million, which is really respectable. And I agree with some of his libertarian views that he shares. That's been fun to watch him share some things like that special that he did. It was fantastic. But yeah, when he says, oh, I think it's a really good buy, I wouldn't say that that's his specialty, what he knows. And Jim Cramer, boy, you think CNBC money, right? That he would be more right than he is. I don't know why he's wrong so often, truthfully. But when I hear him super bullish on something, that always has me concerned. Let me jump over to some news. I had that one. Well, okay, let's talk about Fidelity, because this is probably one of the biggest news articles. Fidelity to allow Bitcoin investment in retirement plans. Now, this is big. One of the reasons stocks, the U.S. stock market has grown so much starting about 60 years ago was the retirement plans allowing investors, just average everyday people, to start investing some of their pension retirement into stocks. So you had a lot of people buying stocks, and at the time, not a lot of people selling them. And so the stock market started rising drastically as they included them in retirement plans. So Fidelity offering a gateway that people can put their retirement, some of their retirement, into Bitcoin, and hopefully then other cryptocurrencies through their 401k. That's really, really big, because the stock market has been on like a, 12-year increase, and normal markets go up and then they go down and they pull back. And when you have such a high run up, what always follows that? Big decreases, unless the currency completely devalues itself, which it seems like the current administration is trying to do that for some reason. Then it still has a pullback. You just don't see it because the money has been so devalued. It looks like the prices have continued increasing. A strong one to look at that did exactly that was Venezuela. As the Venezuela currency completely debased itself, the stock market in Venezuela looked like it didn't ever collapse, though fundamentally it really did, because their I forget what the name of their currency is, completely devalued itself. But if you just look at the charts, stocks never went down. So the U.S. stock market should have a retracement, because what goes up so crazily should come down. And what happens if it starts coming down? People start getting worried about stocks, but then they have the option to put it into cryptocurrencies is still down from its previous highs. I do think that Plan B stock to flow ratio does accurately reflect the true value of where Bitcoin really is, which would put it right about $100,000 per Bitcoin right now. So if Bitcoin's trading at $39,000, it's vastly undervalued, whereas stocks are vastly overvalued in their price to earnings ratios. Vastly. I mean, I thought Tesla stock was expensive a year and a half ago. And last year it's 7x from there. And then it went up more this year in its price to earnings ratio. And it was so vastly overvalued already. And yet it went crazy from there. And Tesla isn't the only one. All the FANG stocks and many of the tech stocks have just climbed like crazy. And that's usually followed by a retracement. So I want to talk about this. This is really interesting with the buyout of Twitter. I did not expect this. Now, Twitter has been a space in crypto that has been a pretty good space. A lot of crypto discussions happen on Twitter, which is great. And if you haven't followed me on Twitter, yeah, please do it. My Twitter account is, well, I don't have it pulled up here, but Twitter at Crypto Rain. See my profile at Crypto Rain with 2 N's. Follow me on Twitter. I do put some of my alpha in there. So Twitter and where it's going with Elon Musk buying it is really, really interesting. Now, if you think about it, Twitter has not continued innovating at the same pace. It's kind of been coasting. Why hasn't Twitter announced integrations with crypto? Wouldn't that be amazing? So I think Elon Musk has bigger plans with Twitter. But one of the interesting things with Twitter accepting Elon Musk's buyout deal, he probably has this plan in mind. But if he does take it to a free speech platform, did you know that there's a lot of corporations in America that don't seem to be so free speech? Especially like libertarian views sometimes get shut down. And Elon Musk is, a libertarian, though he recently released something that I thought was really interesting on his political views. Let me share this. Yeah, this little diagram here, right? That he's like, yeah, I'm left of center. But where center is moved so much to the left that it makes it seem like I'm a far right-wing extremist, right? And woke progressives have just taken the left wing so far to the left that he's just like, yeah. And they've shut down, and Twitter's been censoring people that aren't so far to the left. If you end up on this side of the center, then you are in great jeopardy of getting shut down. And his goal is to change that. But if he changes that, I remember there was an app, Parler, that a year ago or so, there was some controversy with them. And I did download the app. I tried to use it. It wasn't so easy to use. And then I think the App Store kicked it off, right? Do you know if the App Store kicked Parler off? I know Amazon.
That sounds right to me.
Contract.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I can't remember for sure, but that was that Trump's like response to like, well, if Twitter
yeah, I'm
basically going to make my own Twitter.
Yeah,
admittedly, I didn't follow it that much. I know what it is, but that sounds familiar to me that Apple removed it, and I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, well, they said, it was in the frame of, we've got to stop Trump from having a platform to speak during that time. And he's like, okay, Twitter's going to kick me off. I'm going to go over to Parler. And Amazon Web Services breached their contract with Parler, saying, oh, yeah, we're worried about his extremist misinformation, I think. And then I think the App Store kicked him off. Well, what if the Apple Store decides Twitter now is like too pro-extremist because they allow people that are to the right of where this new center is? Let me share my screen of where they've decided the center is. Then what happens if the Apple Store removes Twitter? Well, that'll be interesting if that happens. And that is a possibility. Obviously, they would get sued. But lawsuits take years to happen. In the meantime, Twitter, it completely hurt it. But you remember, D, seeing some stories 6 to 9 months ago that Elon Musk was working on a phone. So maybe he has a bigger plan, and he's already got a backup plan should the Apple Store, which has near monopolistic power.
Right. You've got them, and obviously you've got Google Play as well, right? And like those are the two big dogs. But yeah, it's interesting, right? Thinking about and that is, obviously we're kind of leading somewhere. You teased it at the beginning, but where Coinbase has come out and said, that they kind of think that Apple has a bit of a monopoly and what they're thinking about doing about it. Because yeah, I mean, and you know, I guess to a lesser extent, Amazon, you know, but there are such large companies. Obviously, there are a lot of whatever. There are alternatives to Amazon, right? But like, if I want to download a different app on my phone, you know, I can't unless I jailbreak my phone. But there are consequences to that, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's an issue for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
I remember some antitrust lawsuits against Microsoft back when Internet Explorer, and they tried to tie the usage of their Windows system to Internet Explorer too much. And President Clinton was president at the time, and the DOJ went savagely after Microsoft for that, and they had to settle and make it really easy to get other browsers on Windows because of that. And I really think
Firefox hashtag.
yeah, I really think
Netscape Navigator.
Apple is at risk of that, right? That I mean, we've really, with following OMI and learning that OMI, for every dollar that you buy to use on VV's platform, when I say OMI, I'm talking about Ecomi is the platform or the company, and VV is their collectible platform. So if you have an Apple device and you buy $1 worth of gems or $100 worth of the gems in order to buy the collectibles, that we learned that Ecomi is only getting about $55 of that. After right off the top, Apple takes 30% plus their other fees, and it's like, oh my gosh. So we're glad to see Ecomi. They're going to have an app through the computer that you'll be able to buy gems soon that will save them that huge fee, but they're only getting 55 out of every $100 spent. Like, that seems like monopoly type stuff to me. And I was thinking, I just thought about that case with like Twitter, and what if all of a sudden Apple decides, well, we don't like everybody being able to speak. It's not like Twitter will allow everyone to speak, but they'll allow views that weren't previously allowed to be on there. And Apple decides that they have no tolerance for that, shuts them off the App Store. They might open Gateway because so much of crypto is tied to Twitter. I was thinking about, if that happens, what would happen? And possibly that leads to Elon Musk launching his own phones and his own phone store, which would then put 3 companies out there with some kind of app store, right? And what a better world that would be if there's 3 companies out there than just 2. 2 just isn't enough. You see too much monopolistic behavior. The fact that Apple can charge you 30% and more of every dollar that comes into your, that's ridiculous. And I've heard a lot of crypto companies say that they didn't even want to go on Apple Store because of how difficult it is, and their terms of service are crazy and ridiculous, which just makes me think of monopolistic behavior. Coinbase tends to agree, sharing this article. Coinbase CEO says Apple's crypto policy raises potential antitrust issues. So I think Apple is putting themselves squarely in a position that they might get sued for antitrust stuff. And not just on the avenue that might be a potential problem, but already a problem with, and this is according to Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. The CEO of the NASDAQ-listed cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, says Apple has not played nice with crypto, noting that the tech giant has banned a bunch of crypto features in its app store. Apple's anti-crypto policy raises potential antitrust issues, says the Coinbase executive. And Coinbase has the money to actually sue them for antitrust stuff. And if the Department of Justice gets involved, well, that's never a fun day for any company. Ask Microsoft how well that went for them. That was not exciting. Anyway, so that the article goes further into that. I think they're opening themselves up squarely to that. And I think they really need to liberalize their policies and make it a little bit easier. They've got that grip way too tight and way too anti-competitive. And I think they're going to pay a price if they don't. And crypto might be the vehicle that really drives a wedge into that, and that the DOJ might eventually investigate them for that. Speaking of government services, the Secret Service is watching crypto transactions very closely, and they seized more than 102 million in crypto assets. Cases have targeted specifically what they're pursuing, at least at this point, Russian cybercrime syndicates that have used crypto exchange to launder funds, as well as ransomware operations tied to Russian, North Korean criminals. Now, it is suspected that a lot of these big hacks that have happened in the crypto space are fostered by a North Korean cybercrime entity that is out of there. And that would be great, actually, if they are intercepting their funds and stopping them. Hopefully that's really the case. I do somewhat believe the articles, but I don't always believe them, but we'll see. You know what the government tells us, and then what's generally true, and sometimes those are aligned and sometimes they aren't. But I like this article. I think, you know, is probably accurately reflecting what's happening there.
But Jay, isn't that what they're always on about? Is that like crypto is like it's everybody's using it for like the black market, right? And it's all
that's what they said
and
about
stuff.
The internet, right? And there was all kinds of news agencies is like, this internet thing is a fad. Isn't it just used for drugs and illicit behavior and sex?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what they say about Bitcoin. In fact, you know, it's so funny that they then have an article down here. I think this isn't part of it, but they have this video from Elizabeth Warren talking about, yeah, but when you were buying crypto, you were literally buying air. And it's like, she has been so anti-crypto. And the truth is, if you look at her donors list, it's all the big banks. Big surprise at Senator Warren. Yeah, follow the money, right? And Senator Warren, like, what a disappointment you are, right? I'm not a fan of her.
I just think that it's so interesting that, like, yeah, they can track these things because of blockchain, and they can seize the money. It's like you can't track a $1 bill unless where's George.com or something.
On one
like
hand,
that.
they say, oh my gosh, we need to really get in and strongly regulate cryptocurrency because of all the money laundering that happens from that. And the next article is like, FBI seizes, or, you know, like European Union, you know, seized this much of funds because they tracked all the transactions on the blockchain. And you're like,
it's bananas.
Yeah, this is the greatest thing. If criminals are using like regular blockchain, like Bitcoin's blockchain, to do things like that, is the most trackable thing in the world. Like, we just don't believe you when you're like, oh, we need to crack down on Bitcoin because of money laundering. It's like, if criminals, like I think in 2014, 2015, some criminals were using Bitcoin a bunch, and then they got caught, and then they could see every transaction they made, and they're like, oh, great. You mean unchangeable, immutable ledger? It's like, it's not a good place for criminal activities. And so when they make that argument, they're either dumb or they're just lying to you when a politician is making that argument. So this is interesting. France has a history of missing it on technology, and they're bullish on crypto, which is good. They were actually bullish on the internet before the internet happened. And when I say France misses on technology, right before internet kind of came together, mostly fostered out of the US, France decided it was going to put $3 billion into this thing to allow all its cities to talk to each other and its universities and stuff. And they spent $3 billion. And the downside was it wasn't compatible at all with the internet, which came out. And so that $300 billion was totally wasted. But this article is interesting enough. I mean, this is good for crypto. Macron was just reelected, and it's 5-year terms in France. And so he's reelected for the next 5 years. And he ran on a pro-crypto agenda, which is nice because the European Union's regulators, and this is why I was opposed to the European Union idea, was that, politicians have to sit for re-election. So they're somewhat accountable to the people, though sometimes they get reelected, then they do whatever they want. In a 5-year term, they do whatever they want for 4 years, and then all of a sudden their last year, they actually do what the people want so that they can hope people don't remember. So that's just the incentives for politicians. Regulators, though, who then get appointed, they're there sometimes for life, and they do not so much answer to the people. So the European Union, my concern was that they would establish all these bureaucrats that aren't beholden to any voters in any of the countries. And so the EU, some of these bureaucracies are very anti-crypto. And so Macron, who ran on a pro-crypto agenda, will hopefully, and France has a lot of power in the EU, hopefully hold their anti-crypto legislation at bay. And that's what this article is about. Now, last year was actually a pretty good year, and a lot of it happened. A lot of the massive growth happened between January through April, followed by a big retracement. But depending on what you're in, even though it retraced, a lot of the projects didn't lose all of their gains. And we see that on average, last year, profit grew 5x. Total profits, according to Chainalysis, 163 billion in 2021. Sounds like a place that's probably a good place to be, wouldn't you say? The cryptocurrency market in general.
It just makes me think about like Raoul Pal talking about like the largest transfer of money is going to happen because of cryptocurrency, or is that the right term? I'm trying to think. How does he say it exactly? But basically, yeah, whatever. The largest transfer of wealth, I guess, is going to happen because of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And you think about the internet did that. If you were an early investor in, I remember the .com boom and bust. I was at the university level at that time. And like at the beginning of that in like 1998, everything was like going crazy in 99. And then it crashed in 2000 through 2002. And, there were some big scandals like WorldCom and Enron and some accounting shenanigans that came to light, and the market got savaged actually. But I remember that .com boom and then bust, right? And it was like, oh yeah. But still, even with that bust, companies like Amazon came out of there. Microsoft still made a fortune. You had other like massive things come about. I mean, Amazon being the biggest one at the time, they were just a bookseller, and they had a long, hard time. It was like 10 years or more before they were even profitable. And I remember people complaining about them and talking about how bad their price was doing and everything, which it was at the bottom, right? So yeah, their price got savaged in that massive pullback. But don't we all wish we could go back to like 2002 and buy their stock for dirt cheap levels? You'd be super rich on that purchase alone, just putting say $5,000 or $10,000 into it. And so the internet era, it did bring a lot of wealth to the whole world. It specifically brought a lot of wealth to the US that kind of pioneered some of the innovations along the internet. Crypto, it is unclear which countries are really going to adopt this. It's going to be a huge transfer of wealth to individuals that participate in strong ways in it and make good choices in it, just kind of like the .com boom and the money that flowed through the internet. Some of those projects failed, but people that are placing good picks that hold it up for the right periods will do exceptionally well, and we'll see a massive transfer of wealth. And we'll see which countries really emerge as economic leaders that really go pro crypto, because I think much as the internet brought a lot of wealth to the US, the US stays behind on their like positive crypto regulation. The other countries go very positive. We could see some massive wealth transfer to some of those other countries. And so I think in the coming 20 years, the balance of power may shift in the world, and it'll be interesting to see which countries really emerge a lot stronger. I mean, El Salvador has placed themselves pretty well. Now they're way behind just about it 90% of the countries in the world as far as economics, but and they're still relatively small. I mean, their total population isn't even large, but their pro Bitcoin, pro crypto stance could make them gain tremendously versus where they are now. And we'll see which countries really accept crypto adoption. So far, we're seeing a lot of crypto companies built out of Australia. We're seeing some built out of like Thailand. We're seeing some out of Singapore and other countries. And that does bring a lot of wealth to their countries. Some out of Malta, some out of other places. But we'll see which country in the world which countries go very crypto friendly, and they'll participate in that huge transfer of wealth as well to not only their citizens, but to their country. Now, this is interesting. And this makes total sense, right? That the hot Houston summer lagoon spot makes a splash with NFT membership. Now that is some beautiful water. So I guess that this in Houston, there's this like water park that sells season passes, and their season passes are NFTs. which makes perfect sense, right? Like, if you think about what an NFT is, it doesn't have to be like a profile pic. An NFT is just proof of ownership, that you own something, right? So wouldn't every season pass be going to an NFT? Wouldn't a lot of things, movie tickets are starting to go towards the way of NFTs. What is it? I think Dallas Mavericks, their tickets have gone the route of being an NFT. So wouldn't season passes and even regular tickets for just about everything go the route of NFTs? Now, which wallets will those be on? Eventually, probably there'll be a couple wallets that'll be frequently used. Right now, there'll probably be a ton of different wallets created, and maybe it won't matter if the NFTs will work across multiple chains. Then will it even matter what wallet it's on if those NFTs can work on multiple things? So I think this is the way everything is going, and they're just one of the first to do it in Houston, apparently, with this very beautiful clear water where they have in their Lagomar Crystal Lagoon Water Park. This is interesting. Now, Dee, you weren't around in the crypto space when Telegram tried to do an ICO and they got slapped down by regulators. And I don't remember if it was the US's regulators or which regulators slapped them down and made them refund their investors, which they did, for their coin, TON, TON. But apparently, I guess Toncoin is out there because Telegram users can now send crypto via their messaging app, which in crypto, we use Telegram a ton.
Right.
Pun intended. As jokes.
Waka waka.
The open network is enabling users to send Toncoin via Telegram chat, which is fascinating. So the open network, TON, a decentralized blockchain initially designed by Telegram, announced this week it is adding a bot that lets Telegram's more than 550 million users send cryptocurrency to other users via chat. This is fascinating. This is a way that I hope actually Elon Musk goes with Twitter, and that, maybe even other places like Facebook and stuff. Why are they not going this way? Facebook clearly realizes that cryptocurrency and metaverses are a big thing. I think that's possibly why they tried to create their own token, but why not allow people to interact with the tokens they already have? I'm kind of glad that Facebook got slapped down on their own cryptocurrency. I think I'm out there with like 95% of the people in the world that we don't really trust Facebook nor its motives. So, but why aren't they as a social media platform going to where you can send cryptocurrency? And it looks like, Telegram's just enabling so that you can send their token right now, but why don't they integrate it? And probably this is the way it goes over the next year to 2 years, that across the different social media platforms, your wallet can interact with it and send money to your contacts easily, right? I think that's the way it will go. All right, so we had to share this article. Dee found this article. Introducing Rain. We're excited to be introducing Rain, the first corporate card built for Web3 teams from the ground up. Now, it is interesting. They identified a problem that I didn't really think about. Tens of billions of dollars worth of crypto is trapped in the wallets of DAOs, startups, and NFT projects without an easy path to spend them on fiat expenses. So if you think about it, NFT project, Bored Ape Yacht Club, they make hundreds of millions of dollars and it's all in crypto. How do they off-ramp that in order to spend it on, expenses that they have in paying salaries, growing their team, paying their lease, their building, paying for internet, and other things that they have to make investments in? Sometimes when you're transferring large amounts of sums from crypto to fiat, sometimes you run into problems with your off-ramps. So it looks like they're allowing, specifically targeting that use case in providing a card for them that they can essentially spend it on their card. And, personally love the name of it, Rain. We'll have to check into it, see if they're going to pay us some royalties on that name.
Yeah, I thought for no other reason we needed to share anything, because introducing Rain, there we go.
Hey,
but cool.
They've definitely got good taste. Rain is the corporate card for Web3. So strong positioning, right? We'll see how well they do, but we had to share that article based on their name. Now, I did want to share something that Oh, you have.
Oh, Jay, I was just gonna say we've got some questions in the chat. Do you want to take a minute and
Let's look
cover
over
a couple of questions? So yeah, I was curious about this, and I'm not sure if you want to answer it or not. But Ellis Andres says, "Well, not financial advice, of course, but if you could invest in 3 projects out of UOS, VRA, OMI, Freeway Token, or SHOPX, what are you choosing right now?"
I'm in all of them.
Mm.
But specifically, I put more money in Freeway Token, OMI, and SHOPX recently. Although it was just 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago that I put more money in UOS and VRA. I guess 3 weeks ago VRA, and it's probably about 6 weeks ago that I put more into Ultra. So I like all of those. What 3? Recently I put them into the last 3. Yeah, I put more into it because I've held those for a while. I did sell completely out of Ultra and got back in. I sold out of Ultra when they hit a high before, but
Nice.
then it had come down considerably. So
our buddy three Doritos later too says my pick's Freeway Token, not financial advice, but yeah. The Club NFT says, "What do you think of UFO?"
I have to look at that. I looked at that not too long ago, and I don't remember what my conclusion was. There's actually a million projects out there and too many interesting projects. So UFO gaming,
right?
You know, I think when I looked at them before, I liked that they went with a super high circulating supply and that all their tokens are already in circulation. Looks like their market cap's at 148 million. It's come down considerably. It pumped with the metaverse stuff, right? And here's really end of October was when the metaverse pump really kicked off, and Facebook announced Meta, and so it went up some, but it really pumped actually somewhat after that. It went all the way up here. It's hard to tell with these numbers how much it's retraced because there's so many zeros in here. It's easy to get lost. It looks like it's down 90% from where it was at. I don't know. Maybe it's down even more than that. It's hard to tell with this many zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I counted 5 zeros in there and 4 zeros here.
It says over on the right it's down 89.6.
So the price is very, very boring, though do note it put in a lower low than before. So it might not be done going down. And so it just depends on where you want to try to trade it. In fact, it's still heading steadily down. So I'd be a little bit cautious that prices are going to get even more attractive with this one. Blocktopia are not looking good. Yeah, Blocktopia ran up like 800x from its launch. So it's got a lot of correcting to do, right? And the team doesn't have that strong in actually building the the 3D metaverse shopping center that they're working on. And so that they should have lots of money because their token went up that they can hire exactly the right people. But yeah, Blocktopia went up 800x. I don't go anywhere near something until they've corrected most of those gains. And they still could correct even more than this. See, they just put in a lower low. So look for it to go even cheaper. Still, their market caps, their fully diluted valuations at 2.3 billion. We don't know what their circulating supply is, so we don't know what their true market cap is, at least on CoinGecko. Wanchain giveaway today. Let's do it. This is a question I've asked before, but the person that gives us the answer to the name of the CEO of Wanchain, the first person, wins. I'd like to reward those that follow Wanchain and what's going on with them. And a very big fan of their project. They are making some integrations with Cardano, and Wanchain builds some of the best trustless bridges, interoperable trustless bridges in the crypto ecosystem. And them bridging over to Cardano is some really good news. They're going to allow some things. I mean, it really is a big win for everyone with that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And Chris Ashby is our winner. Congratulations.
Man, it was so close. I'm talking MM Calistenia and Pete D, but especially MM came in like right after Chris. I was like, holy crackers, that was fast. But
I
yeah,
do
all
like
righty,
the
Chris.
reward. Sometimes I'll ask much harder questions. This one was a pretty easy one, especially because I've asked it before. But yeah, I would encourage people to take a deeper look at what's going on with the Cardano blockchain integration with Wanchain and the trustless bridges, because hint, hint, the question next week might be along those lines.
Yeah, and I'm sorry again. We usually give this disclaimer, but on our end, like on your end, a lot of the time your comment will show up first, but it's what I'm seeing back here. So I promise you that Chris is the one who's came in first on our end. So, but yeah, you've got a good hint for next week. So yeah, hopefully. But Chris, we know you. We'll get in touch with you, bud.
All right. So somebody asked a good question about what NFT projects are recently looking at. Specifically, recently I looked at, and I bought 2 of these bat cows from DC Universe. Now, you can see, oh, here we go. They have some, I don't love the pricing on these with the number of them, right? 200,000 unique bat cows. That's basically the hood that Batman wears. So in the first with DC collectible, NFT collectible was Vivi, and they have some amazing ones. But DC is making a big push in their integration with Palm NFT Studio to do some things, and they're going towards these bat cows. And there's going to be, so here's an example of one of their bat cows. That's a really cool one. And they have this roadmap, and there will be some function by having some of these. You get like special access. So I bought 2 of them. I don't love the price. $300 a piece is a lot. It's totally a speculative play. Here's what I hope happens. They don't sell out their NFTs at all, and they burn the rest, but they still have enough funds to fund everything that they want to do. And there's even less of supply. What is interesting is, if they do a really good job with this, even with if the full supply of 200,000 ends up happening, it still could do really well. But if you times 200,000 by the $300 price that they're asking, that's 60 million, I think, if my math is correct, in funds them raising to do this. And they've done something in the past. If you look at my collection, they did some free NFT drops that we covered before. There were just some things you had to do, and you'd get some free NFTs. And these are 2 of the free NFTs that I got before. For some reason, not showing one of them. I have to often refresh it. There we go. And I know some of our audience members got some of the free NFTs. So I think this is the first thing that they've offered for you to purchase. And it will be revealed. Their sale is still live. That's at nft.dcuniverse.com for you to create a login if you haven't already, and then buy it. There's some interesting functionality, which here it's hard to see, but I found them on Twitter, and I was looking at their functionality, and it's hard to read this, especially if you're watching this on the phone. You won't even there's no way you'll be able to read this. But they go through some of this. Now, Dia, I don't know how much you follow Batman. Have you followed the Batman Who Laughs stuff at all?
Not too much. I mean, I know about it exclusively because of Vivi, right? Because they have a collectible about the Batman Who Laughs, and I do not own that collectible. It's one that I really, really like the artwork on, and I kind of know the story. It's like the Joker does something, and Batman becomes kind of like a hybrid of Batman and the Joker, and it's supposed to be a pretty cool story.
Yeah, so I guess, they're really going the realm of like these different, like, what do they call it? The multiverse. And so I guess in one of these multiverses, that's how they can like keep making like different Spider-Mans and different, and I guess Spider-Man is Marvel and Batman is DC. But in this one multiverse or one universe, Batman kills Joker, and then like he becomes like a hybrid of him and Joker, but he also has some extra superpowers. And I noticed one of the cows here, this is from the Batman Who Laughs. So if you share my screen again, I was like, oh, that's interesting, because there is a movie coming out, I heard, at least it's being funded right now, for a Batman Who Laughs, which is pretty dark one, where like Batman goes through and he kills like all the villains, and then he kills some of the heroes. in the universe and stuff. And eventually he gets taken out by Wonder Woman.
Oh, wow.
And then he gets
Spoiler alert.
revived and put into a clone of his body. And then he kills him again. But really interesting storyline. I would like to see a super dark, like, what is the movie my son likes? John Wick. Think of like John Wick in a Batman, you know, him going through and taking out all the different bad guys.
Well, yeah, and there certainly are films that are going that way with the new Joker, and you know, even like that movie Logan, the X-Men one, you know. So there's definitely a market, and I think that we're going to start to see some of that
bloody
stuff.
I did have a hard time watching that one.
I love that movie though. That movie was awesome.
That was savage. Yeah. But yeah, I would love to see a really dark Batman, right? So if you do look up on YouTube, there was this version of it that it was fan created. They created like a 2-minute video of the Batman who laughs. That was a fun one to watch. If you go to Batman fandom, like here's the Batman who laughs, and give you a picture of this. Obviously, it looks like Robin is turned too, but yeah, it'd be really cool to see something like that happen. It looks like some of the back cows are along that line. It'll be fun to see that story evolve if you're into that kind of stuff. Now, we were talking earlier about El Salvador and them embracing Bitcoin and declaring it currency or as legal tender in their country. Another country followed suit, Central African Republic, which has a total population of about 5 million, which seems like a lot. But the average income for a person living in, and it shows it where it is, in case you didn't know where the Central African Republic is, it's right south of Chad, is not a country that's often on people's mind because the average income there is so low. I think it's around $350 a year average income. So they do not have the economic power. But if this is good for them, imagine how much that could raise. Now, step one is, you know, making cryptocurrency legal tender. There's a lot more that would go into it to attracting businesses to go there. I mean, one of the huge downsides is really you can only get in and out by plane. There's no ports there. So I don't know that they have a chance of becoming a crypto hub. But it is good for the crypto narrative to have a second country declaring it as legal tender, because then that will make other countries that are looking at it more likely, because they'll feel like they're missing the boat. And they'll want to be early, though not too early. So a second country announcing Bitcoin as legal tender. This was interesting. We talked in the pre-live stream prior to this. We talked a little bit about privacy coins, and one specifically that I've been following called SolBank, which the whole Solana ecosystem is down right now. And the price action is very boring, which is usually when I like to buy more when things are down and the price action is boring. But speaking of privacy coins, I did not know that Snowden was he played a key role in Zcash privacy coin creation. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with who Edward Snowden is, he was a contractor that worked with the NSA, and he blew the whistle on how they were spying on pretty much every American citizen and some things out there. Of course, he's been declared, a leaker. What's funny is, whistleblowers are often, if they're true whistleblowers, usually have their lives destroyed by the government that they blew the whistle on. And he fled over to Russia, of all places, and is still living there. But interesting that he was, he didn't play a huge role in it, but part of it. He's an interesting figure. I did listen to his story as he laid it out, and what he laid out and what he said he saw and that he felt like he needed to blow the whistle on made sense to me. I'm not sure what I think of him. Apart from that, I'd say I can't say I know tons about it, but I did watch his interview and he came across as credible to me and somewhat likable. Interesting that he was behind it. Oh, and this is the additional stuff that we pulled on. So that's our news for the day. That's what I had. Let me just check over. We're right about out of time. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed to the Crypto Rain channel, what are you doing? Join us, join the Rainmaker family as we continue this 4-year experiment on a community implementing the principles that I know work in cryptocurrency, and I share them with you. I've been investing for 20 years prior to crypto, just 4.5 years in the cryptocurrency industry. So a lot of these principles I didn't create. I just brought them over from the other stuff that I had a lot of experience doing, and tried to find out what works and what doesn't work in crypto. I do share with you some of the early mistakes that I made so that hopefully you don't make them, because my goal is to share with you just what I've learned, what projects I'm interested in, and why, so that you can come to your own conclusions and decide what you like. But if I can help leverage some of the mistakes I made, even though I had so much investment background, I didn't think the same rules applied in crypto, and they do. You can learn from some of my mistakes and don't have to make those mistakes. It will hopefully speed you up on your journey towards a better financial future through cryptocurrency investment. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you all next time. Remember, no rain, no gain.
Into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit bad before you're good. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game past mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. The next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, studying to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this road, cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. Strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.